Hi, today's video is about Vue.js. We are going to go through 5 tips which makes your code cleaner and your structure more understandable and maintainable. So I assume that you already have like at least 1 year of experience with Vue.js, or you have already been through some documentations, video tutorials, so you know how to code in Vue, so you basically know the challenges. This tip's gonna cover TypeScript and JavaScript, doesn't matter which one are you using, and we are not going to talk about SSR with Next. That deserves its own video. So let's skip that and let's get into it. Tip number 1. Use .env files. Well, .env files, yes, on the front end. Well, if you don't know what .env files are, .env is short for environment, and on the backend normally you use them to configure your environment variables on the backend, and your environment be the server or a container. On the front end, we also kind of have an environment. Let's say the user's browser. So what does that mean? It means that when you build for production, when you do npm run build, the build JavaScript will contain all of your environment variables that you have put here, which start with Vue app. It will put them into your build JavaScript file, which means that you must not put any credentials here, because then there is no point. It is available on the browser and will be cached, and there is no way to get it back. It can be leaked. So then what's the benefit here? The benefit is that you are refactoring the configuration out of your code. How? Let's get into it. Let's say you are using Vuetify, and which by the way is a framework to implement designs in Vue. And you are going to configure some themes, and now a customer comes and say, okay, I don't want this color and this logo, it should be different for me, and you need to figure out some way, okay, how. And if you don't do that .env files, you may just go on and then recreate those files or have multiple files for each customer. But with .env files, you can put your key configurations here and just create a new .env file for that customer. Let's say we are going to run this inside that customer's environment. So let's call this customer 1, and we will just put the same configurations with different values, of course, and let's say this one is blue. And with just this easy change, we can now release for just this customer without changing the actual code. So the actual code should support this, and then you are just good to go without duplicating your codes. And the way that you will build is like this: npm run build mode, and the mode will be the suffix of your .env file. In this case, it will be customer 1. And then when you do this, it will check the customer 1 file, and then will take the environment variables from this one and put it into your build. Normally, I think most of the people, they just do npm run build. This is fine, and the way that it also works is like this: if you have the .env file available and nothing else, it will pick this, and if you have .env.production, then automatically it will pick this one instead of your .env file. So it's good to know that. Yeah, that's for .env files. Tip number 2: understand your components boundaries. So components boundary, maybe it's not the best naming, but what I meant is like this. So always picture the components as the big one, and then now look at it and see, okay, what can you break it into, so you can use or reuse these pieces later in other components. So let's say you have a table, and a table have records, and these records are going to represent something, show something. The first thing you may do is that you will give it like an entity, and then you will render it inside that entity. So this way what you have done is that you are coupling this table component only to this entity. So it's better you create an interface and then you map this object into that interface or that input model and then render based on that. So that would be my tip. So always make sure that you can reuse the components. Always break it to the pieces. Always try to think like, okay, I can reuse this one, and maybe I also can publish it for everyone so everyone can use it on npm. That would be cool. I would use it. And then, but I think that's it. Tip number 3: keep your roads structured. Don't use the default structure from Vue. So, handling your roads or optimizing them. Normally when you create a TypeScript or JavaScript project, you have this structure in your router. And when your project grows and if you have everything here, then you're gonna get into trouble, especially if you have some complicated roads, like you're going to create some breadcrumbs out of it, or you're going to like repeat a road by itself with a regex so it can go on and go on, always open itself. That's not the way you should do it because it's too complicated. The way that I refactor it would be that I create a class root for TypeScript. It's already there, but it's an interface. You have to implement it, kinda. But you also can create your own class and then cast into that one. At the end, it's just JavaScript. So what happens is that, for example, let's say you have you want to set up some home roads. So you have this class, and now you come here and create your home roads. And for example, normally I also have more more methods here, like with children, to have nested roads. For more information, actually, you can check out here. I already have a post about the nested roads in Vue.js. You can check this one out, and I will also put the link in the description. But now how does this work? So you're exporting this, and you just need to simply import it into your index.js. In this case, I have renamed it to index optimized, and you just put it in the array, and then at the end put this array here, or you can just set the array like here, of course. And that's it for the roads. Now let's go to the next one. Tip number 4: for your REST calls, use an endpoint registry. Okay, endpoint registry. So that maybe there is out there a library to do that. I know there is one for Laravel. With Vue, you can convert your PHP roads to Vue roads. Not the roads, but like the REST endpoint registry. But normally, so you are not using Laravel, so you need to do it yourself. I would like do it like this. This one should change. So I would create a class called endpoint, and then I will have the normal REST HTTP method types like post, get, delete, put, and I will just create my endpoint, and for example here I will also read my base path from the environment variables, which we spoke about at the beginning of the video, and then you have your endpoint class. Now, for example, you have a posts controller on the backend. Now you want to create the endpoints from that. So you will just import the endpoint and then create the endpoint for each of your actions. So the post will have nothing, and then you will call it create, and then later when you want to use these endpoints, you just import the posts, and then you have the posts that create, update, delete, get, and list. So this way they are all just isolated at one place, and you can just change them from here or add to them here, and then use them anywhere in your application. Not anywhere, not everywhere. Maybe if you have an image URL, you can use it in your image tags, but not all of them. We will get into this in the next section. So let's see what's that about. And the last tip, keep your REST calls outside of the component itself. Manage it somewhere else. A controller maybe. Okay, so here we are going to decouple our REST call, actual REST call from the component and make this function be reusable everywhere. So I normally create an HTTP folder. You can call it whatever you want, services, HTTP, doesn't matter. And now under it you have controllers. And under the controllers you will just have the same name as the controllers you have on the backend. And you will use your registered endpoints that we had on the posts here. And then you can see that I have a create post method, and I have the view access code inside this one. And actually this one is not return, it is resolve. And then you can reuse this. Of course you cannot completely remove it from your component because you have to use it somewhere. But then this code is like really simple, and this is configurable. For example, you can just give this component, give this method some configuration, so the mapping gonna be different somehow, or the asking for information or posting information is going to be different. So this way is going to make your life much easier, believe me, especially when you have some like images you want to request for images and so if your images or blob storage is sitting behind an identity server, you have to first send some authorization header there to get the images. You cannot do it in a normal image tag, so it's better to like have it here and then use it everywhere in your code. Yep, that's it for this step. Well, that's it for this video. I enjoyed it making this one, and I hope you have enjoyed it too. Let me know about any other tips that you also have and I have forgot about it, or I may not know about it. Let me know down in the comments, and have fun coding. Cheers.